If you're a home buyer in today's market, we have a great conversation for you today. We are talking all about housing affordability.
I keep it real, I keep it real, I keep it real, just keep it real.
Hey, thanks for joining me, friends. For those that know me know, and for those that don't know me, my name's Sam Hartman and I'm keeping it real estate in Northeast Indiana, Fort Wayne, Indiana. And we're here today because I want to help educate consumers, buyers and sellers on the trends and what's happening in the real estate market so that you guys can evaluate and be empowered to make the best real estate decisions possible for you and your family. So what we're talking about today is housing affordability, and I'm going to jump right into it by looking and starting with a quote from Mark Fleming, Chief Economist of First America. His quote reads, "Affordability sank to its lowest level since 2008. Higher mortgage rates and record year-over-year nominal house price growth triggered a nearly 20% jump in the RHPI, that's the Real Housing Price Index. The soaring nominal housing prices and uptick in mortgage rates swamped any affordability gains from the 3.6% yearly increase in household income." So this quote sounds like bad news, but one thing it does is it helps outline how we measure housing affordability. So there's really three key measurements that we're looking at. One is mortgage rates. How much does it cost to get the money needed to buy a house? Second is housing prices. Are they up? Are they down? And third are incomes. Are they rising or are they falling? So the two that we want to remain lower to make housing more affordable, the mortgage rates and housing prices, are increasing. Now the good news is income is increasing as well, but not quite at the rate that those other two are. So it sounds like bad news. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at some true data, and we're going to look at it in context of history and see really where housing affordability stands today. So here we've got a great graph that goes back to 1990 all the way to today, and it's measuring this housing affordability index on where it scales. And so the lower the bar graph sits, the less affordable a home is. The higher it sits, the more affordable a home is. So you can see the bar graph section in orange with really high affordability. These are the years after the housing crash. So house prices actually depreciated. Interest rates actually began falling at that time to help stimulate the house buying process and the economy. So homes had pretty high affordability there. But even since we kind of gotten out of those dark ages, houses have remained extremely affordable. And so the blue bar graph line of where we're at today is actually still more affordable than any time from 1990 to 2008 leading up to the housing crash. So in the grand scheme of history, housing is still a great affordability option. We'll dive into another quote from Todd Tita. He's the Chief Product Officer of Adam. "The average wage earner can still afford the typical home across the US, but the financial comfort zone continues to shrink as home prices keep soaring and mortgage rates tick upward." So what is that comfort zone? Let's look at that. This is a question I get from buyers all the time, is how much of my income should I be spending on a house or a housing? What's a good guideline? And so there are some recommendations from lenders out there that recommend not spending more than 28% of your household income on your housing. And so what this graph is showing us here is what percentage historically over these last few quarters and how affordability is changing, how that plays into the percentage of income that it actually takes to spend on purchasing a home, and how much of that percentage of your household income is going towards your housing. So in 2020 quarter four, it was 21.5%. In quarter three, 24.4, so it's rising. In the fourth quarter of 2021, 25.2. So although it is upticking here, we are still under that threshold that most lenders kind of recommend buyers to be at. Now, every buyer's situation, every buyer's income, every buyer's debts, every buyer's credit score is oh so different. So don't just take this as the gold standard necessarily, because everybody's individual situation is very specific to them. So these are great guidelines to go off of, but this is why it's so important early in the process, if you're thinking about purchasing a home, that it's worthwhile to reach out to a trusted real estate advisor. That's where I come in to really look at these pieces with you and put the puzzle together to figure out what's going to make the most sense, and creating that comfort, that clarity, so that you have confidence in the decisions that you're making. So with this information in hand, I think the point I want to drive home is that homes are becoming less affordable, but they're not unaffordable. So is it a bit frustrating to buyers that have kind of been through the ringer these past couple of years with how competitive the real estate market has been? Absolutely, it is frustrating, but don't let it take you out of the market, because there's a lot of great, not just financial benefits to owning a home and purchasing a home, but all the non-financial benefits. I mean, we've been through this pandemic, and if you've been living in a one-bedroom apartment, golly, I can only imagine that you are ready for all of the non-financial benefits of home ownership: the space, the comfort, the peace of mind, the ownership, the customability that you can have in your own home. So we'll jump into another quote here from Todd Tita, Chief Product Officer at Adam. Home ownership still remains the more affordable option for average workers in a majority of the country, because it still takes up a smaller portion of their pay. So your housing costs as a homeowner on average across the nation is actually lower than your typical renter. So although, again, like we said, affordability is increasing, it still is more affordable historically and on average across the nation right now than renting. And so let's look at that alternative. Let's look at rent and how that's changed throughout these times as well. So this line graph, it's graphing average rents on two different types of units, detached and attached. So detached is obviously a single family home, stands on its own. You don't have any attached walls. Attached would be multi-unit living, apartment complexes, things like that. And so both of these rents within the last 2 years are really beginning to skyrocket. So not just housing prices of purchasing a home are rising, but rent prices, what you're paying to just even rent a home, not building any equity whatsoever, is rising quite substantially as well. Further drive home that point, here's a quote: single family rent growth hit its 6th consecutive record high. Annual rent growth was more than 3 times that of a year earlier. Rent growth should continue to be robust in the near term, especially as the labor market continues to improve. So just like we are expecting home price appreciation to continue to rise going forward, especially, projections I'm looking over the next 5 years, we're expecting housing prices to continue to rise. Rent prices are also expected to continue to rise. So the conversation about affordability, it sounds a little daunting, it sounds a little frustrating and scary to buyers, but I guess the moral of the story is let's not wait. Let's get involved. Let's put this puzzle together and figure out what makes sense for you. Now, there are reasons to rent. There are reasons not to buy. But maybe maybe you just think it's out of the realm for you. Maybe you just think it's not a possibility. And I've helped all kinds of buyers in my career. I've helped them pursue all kinds of financial assistant options and really piece that puzzle together to make that American dream a reality for them. So if you think that it's something that you want to do, but you're not even sure if it's a possibility, just reach out. Let's have that conversation. Let me be that first stepping stone to help educate you, create some clarity, and help create confidence in you going forward, making great real estate decisions. So that's it, guys. Thanks for sticking with me. If you have questions about housing affordability, don't hesitate to reach out and ask, but make sure you like or subscribe wherever you're seeing this post so that you're getting more of this information, or share it with someone that needs it. If you know a home buyer or a home seller that is kind of having some negative thoughts about where the market's going and what they might do, share this information for them, because really they need not just the information, they need the context of it as well. So thanks again for staying with me, guys, and remember, keep it real estate out there.
Keep it real, I keep it real, I keep it real, just keep it real.